other nights it would just completely fall.
Mm-hmm.
And so he came and he said, well, there's a reason why this doesn't work for you and it works for me. And he's like, why don't you write it for me? And he gave me $100 to write a bunch of stuff for him.
Nice.
And the thing was, for me, if someone bought me a drink after an act, I felt like I'd split the atom, that this was the most important compensation I'm ever going to get. So to get $100 for writing a joke was all the money in the world to me, and it was very encouraging also. So so then I started writing for him and other people, and more I started receding into the writing side of things as opposed to the performing.
So were you still working on the trading floor at that time?
I was,
while all this was happening?
Still doing that. I was working for an investment bank before that, and then I was working. I started working on the trading floor.
So you were how many hours a day were you working back then for $100?
I would say, I'd get done with the good thing about the trading floor was when I was the trader, 4:02. You remember when the bell would ring? I was out the door. Yeah. So I had the rest of the day. I didn't have to be there until 9 in the morning, and at 4 o'clock I'd be out the door. So I had every waking moment from that point until I had to be back on the floor again, I was doing something related to this. I didn't have much of a social. I didn't really want that. I enjoyed being around the people. I was either working on a short film, or I was acting in something, or I was auditioning, or hanging out with friends writing. I had a small improv group. Just anything I could do to be around. I didn't even have a TV, so anything I could do to be around this was what I found the most joy in. So that's all I would do.
So you were doing all this just for, just because you had a creative spirit. There was no money in it. You weren't making money. Did you have a long-term vision? Did you have a vision like, this is where I want to end up after putting in this time doing this? Or were you just in the moment?
I didn't really. So there was a part of me that never believed I could ever make a living doing this. But then there was a part of me that also didn't care, because I was enjoying the work so much that it didn't. I was making money. I was making good money. So the money was never factored into it for me. But because for me it was about having fun, about doing something that I enjoyed doing, and that was happening. Now, if I want to be able to do that for a living? Of course I did. I didn't want to be on the floor forever, but if that hadn't happened, I was, at the time at least, I was okay. It didn't bother me that much. I wasn't bothered by it. I wanted it, but I was never troubled that it wasn't happening. And so, no, to answer your question, I had no grand vision or plan. I kind of just was going day by day, where I was like, well, the last few years I've had a day job, and I've had this, and it's been okay. It's not that bad. So this continues.
And you're doing something you love. Now you ended up. I mean, you shared with me through your writing. That's how you ended up on the Daily Show.
Yes.
Yeah. Now, what did you do on the Daily Show?
So I was hired to host a segment called Video Passport, which made fun of TV shows from other countries that you could see on your American on any cable package. They have these foreign channels.
No, that's right. That's right for humor there.
So it was it made fun of those, and then I was also writing some of that, and so then once I was in there, I just started moving around within the whole. I got a job at MTV Sports, and I just started. Again, I started out as a performer on the Daily Show, but more and more I realized I enjoyed the writing and being behind the camera more. So it was there that I started focusing more on, and around that time that I just figured I really want to seriously learn how to make this rather than be in the middle of what someone else is making.
Yeah.
So I started focusing on writing and producing and that sort of stuff over there.
It's funny, it's funny how you never know how the path is going to lead, or where the path is going to lead you. I just happened to see something yesterday with they were interviewing Bob. I forget how it's pronounced. Odenkirk. Better Call Saul. He was, he's pretty famous, or maybe you know him, I don't know, but he got the job for Breaking Bad. The creators of Breaking Bad just envisioned him in that part for no other reason. He didn't audition, nothing. And now he has his own show. And what I found interesting was during the interview, he said, I still don't feel comfortable calling myself an actor.
Right.
Even though he thinks he's a writer, a sketch comedy writer, so he's on one of the most famous shows of all time. Now he's on his own show, and he still says, I'm not really an actor.
Right.
So it's funny, you don't know how it's going to end up. Who would have thought that I'd be doing radio with this, Long Island accent of mine,
And who would have thought back when we were on the floor together that one day we'd be talking on the radio about something other than what TNX options are for going for at that point, right?
No, you're right. Well, you're right, number one, and number two, thank God. We're talking about something else.
Yeah. I mean, it was the same for me. I just knew I liked this world. I knew I liked being around many of the people, not all, but many of the people. I liked what I didn't know if I wanted to be an actor. I liked parts of it, but I didn't know if that's what I wanted to do, if I wanted to be I just knew I wanted to be in this world, and I just knew that if I stay in it as much as I can and explore and try different things, I will find something or many things within it that I'm happy doing. So
and it's true, I think with this world, one thing I never knew, my daughter's an actress. So she is, she's still in school, but she's studying acting. And what I realized was, man, these people work hard. Long hours. She's in school till 10:30, 11 o'clock at night every day. With rehearsals and blocking and where to stand. It's a lot. It really is.
Right. Yeah.
It's a lot of hard work. You told me something that your father told you, and something about Herb Alpert, and I think this is so cool coming from your perspective because we don't. I usually don't think this way, but go ahead, please.
So when I was a kid, my father had all these Herb Alpert and the Tijuana Brass records, and I still to this day I love mariachi music. I mean, I don't know why, and I love Herb Alpert because I grew up listening to those records and then just playing them as a kid over and over again. I mean, there's like I love the Beatles, and for some reason Herb Alpert was also in the mix. And my dad once told me that this is Mexican music, but he's like, what's interesting is that there's not a single Mexican in the Tijuana Brass. They're all like Jews and Italians. And I was like, wait, what? And he's like, yeah, that's America. You can go and be whatever you want over there. So a bunch of Jews and Italians are the greatest mariachi band in the world.
Yeah.
So to me, that is what I've always seen. That's kind of what I've always, perhaps naively, some would say, but I believe that you can do whatever you want over here in this country.
Yeah. No, you are true, and there are so many.
You can be whatever you want.
That's true. I do believe it's gotten more difficult as times have gotten, as we've, we're sort of in a tough economy now, but it's still possible. It's all possible.
Right.
It's all there. It really is.
See, here's what I think it is. I think it's become, you may not see. So there's two parts to this. I think the first part is people equate success with monetary success, and I think the two can be mutually exclusive. And you, if you want to do something in the arts, if you want to pursue the arts, but or if you, let's say, want to be an actor, but for you, the measure of success is that if you're not Tom Cruise, you are nothing. Then you are setting yourself up for failure. That's almost, and for some reason, people have these bizarre expectations with the arts that they don't have for anything else. Like nobody will say, well, I'm going to become a software developer, or I'm going to get into computers, and if I don't become Bill Gates or Steve Jobs, I'm a failure. Or no one will say that I want to go work in finance, and if I don't become Warren Buffett, I'm a failure. But for some reason, in the arts, I'm exaggerating, but there's the expectation for the extreme, which if you can just temper that in a more realistic manner, I think it isn't that hard. It isn't any harder than any of the other professions, but it's just that perhaps because the arts are more visible, or they require a certain degree, there's an audience component to it. So people just imagine a gigantic audience, or they just imagine themselves in this audience where they've seen the likes of Tom Cruise or whatever, and so that's objective. So that's how I approach that. I think that if it's something that you really love, do it because you love doing it, and if you become really good at it, the money may or may not come, but keep the two separate. And if you don't get the money, at least you'll be very good at it. And if you become really good at something, in America, you'll find a way to make money doing that. And
that's true with a lot of things. If you do the right things for the right reasons, the money will follow you. I told this story on one of my earlier shows, and I think it's a good story for this moment. Is years ago, I'm living in Manhattan with my wife, and we went to a comedy club that was sponsored by the New York Athletic Club, which we're members of. So we go to this comedy night on a Wednesday night, sponsored by the club, and it's us and one other couple. There's 4 people there, and the comedian was Ray Romano.
Right.
So, 2 years later, he was doing Everyone Loves Raymond, and, obviously he was amazingly good and talented, but he's playing in front of 4 people when he was probably, 30-ish, still trying, Yeah. So it's just how it is. Okay, listen, we're going to take a commercial break, then we're going to come back, and we're going to talk some more, okay? We'll be right back, folks.
What if you got rewarded for every good decision? What if your heart had a special way of letting you know it appreciates your healthy choices?
I've got to get my family to eat more vegetables.
Amazing!
And instead of cooking with butter tonight, I think I'll saute our veggies with heart-healthy oil.
You're a genius! So really, would your food choices pay off in heart health? Did you know that when you replace bad fats with healthier fats, like those in canola or other vegetable oils, it can lower bad cholesterol levels, and that's good for your heart. Here's a winning idea. Take up the challenge for good health, because the you of the future will say,
fantastic!
Learn more at heart.org/facethefats. Canola Info proudly supports the American Heart Association's Face the Fats campaign.